I've been doing a survey of marketing directors. I can tell you that 99% of them hate marketing. They hate it. They don't like it when they are getting cold calls on their mobile. They hate it when they're asked to fill in a form to get a web page to load. They hate it when they have to watch a YouTube advertisement for 30 seconds. Actually, have you noticed it's now 5 seconds, or usually best 3. Why? Because after 3, you want to kill the company that is advertising. So I'm just seeing the whole of the marketing industry is in a problem right now. So you guys can really help. How do we do this? We do this with ultra personalization. We do this by shifting from just broadcasting 1 million mail shots or 1 million billboards or 1 million TV ads or 1 million pay-per-clicks to something that is a conversation on the journey of life. Because, my friends, I learned as a physician in my first life, looking after people dying of cancer and then with HIV and AIDS, I learned that life is too short to waste on things you don't believe in. Put up your hands if you think that is true. Life is too short to sell things that are rubbish. Even more, when people try to sell things that are rubbish, they destroy our channel. If people are doing bad mail shots, which are just junk, it makes the customers angry and makes people think that actually Greta Thunberg is correct, this 16-year-old Swedish girl, and we should ban all kinds of things in our world, including mail shots, because they just waste paper. Why? Because bad mail shots are very wasteful. The same with pay-per-click. It's all about trust. I'll tell you this, I was at a Google conference with some of their premier marketing partners. I told them there is a problem, because many of the things we click on don't tell the truth. I'll come back to that. Where I click on something I think is about a particular kind of product or offering, but it's a trick. And when I get there, it's about something a little bit different. It's called clickbait. It's absolutely terrible for the business. It's the same as junk mail, which entices you to open because of some special promise on the outside. Inside there's almost nothing there. It's just a trick. So it's all about trust. And it's all about scale, which is why these machines really matter. You see, in my country now, 70% of all the milk is bought by only 7 people. 7. 70% of all the bread is bought by only 7 people. 7. One of them is Lidl, Mr. Lidl. One buyer for all the bread in Lidl in my country. One buyer for all the milk in Lidl in my country. I feel sorry for farmers. But actually, one buyer for digital campaigns for Lidl. One buyer for digital campaigns for Carrefour, for Walmart. There is gigantic consolidation happening in marketing, in promotion, in advertising, and it affects how these technologies are being used, the pay-per-click and other things. 66% of all these campaigns are driven by robots, AI, artificial intelligence. We call it programmatic marketing. It's automated bidding on advertising, the kind of things you see here. Someone has paid for that, and there was an auction. In real time, it happens second by second for the opportunity to show an ad to a particular customer in a particular way. But we're seeing exactly the same thing now shifting to print. So it's not 66% of print yet, but it's growing. Programmatic printing is automatic printing of advertising in real time using machines just like that to show printed information to just one person in a specific context. So very important, dramatic growth. And I tell you this, most advertising agencies have hardly begun to get into this yet. Most of my clients have no idea about the tools you already have and how you could use them to completely transform the customer relationship. Now, having said this, many trends are changing more slowly than we think. In fact, just look at these brands. Brand names continue for generations. It's very interesting. Here are some other things that change rather slowly. I want you to imagine a friend of yours had a terrible accident 20 years ago in 1999 and has been unconscious in hospital for 20 years. And then he says, well, he's awake. He thinks he's only missed 24 hours, but he's missed 20 years. And when he does, Edgar, he says, he keeps saying, Edgar, Edgar, bring him to me. And so Edgar Lenin gets an SMS saying, I don't know what this is about. You have a friend, he was nearly dead, he's now alive. Come and talk to him. Edgar walks in and gives his friend a hug. He said, I thought you were dead. And Brian says, Edgar, we were at university together. We studied together. You're my friend. What have I missed? Tell me, I've lost 20 years. Now, how long do you think it will take Edgar to bring my friend up to date about printing, mobile communications, how many world wars there have been, dot-com crashes, I don't know what. What do you think? I've written a whole chapter on this in a book. I think 2 hours will be enough. I think after 2 hours, you and he will say that we've probably finished now, because every time Edgar tries to shock my friend, he says, really? I was expecting this. So what we're learning is lots of things don't change. So Edgar, we turn on the radio and your friend says, I recognize 60% of the songs on the radio. Right. You know, you take him to walk down to a conference. He looks around and he says, well, I was worried that I would be out of fashion, 20 years out of date, but my tie is still okay. These are 20-year-old trousers. The shoes are fine. And the women, they seem to be dressed in the same sort of way that they were 20 years ago. It's not dramatically different. And he walks into his shops, he sees his home, he goes into a hotel room. It's basically the same. He gets into a new car, not a Tesla, but he gets into a new car, which is a hybrid, and it drives exactly the same, really, as it used to. He has not seen anything dramatic. He says, I heard about 3D TV. Everybody talking about 3D. I want one. He said, I'm sorry, you're too late. He said, what? They don't make them anymore. I say, what? Now he's surprised. He says, why? Well, nobody wanted to buy them. Put up your hands if you have a 3D TV. Oh, great. Will you please bring them and donate them to the Museum of Canon? They are all history items now. They are very precious. You should stroke it every morning and take care of it. There's no more coming. Why? Because it's easy to create wow, but it's difficult to create magic. And 3D TV did not create magic. Programmatic printing does. Here is another example. 3D printers. I was told, by stupid people, 25 years ago, one day we will even print our own meals at home. What? We will all be printing our own newspapers at home. That was stupid. They then said we would all be printing our own toys at home, our own hats at home, our own shoes at home. I am bored of printing shoes. I have one of these. Put up your hands if you have a 3D printer in your home. One. Give him a round of applause. We too, two of us, we have them. We are the future, my friends. What did you last print? Fantastic. I did similar things. We play with these things. We love technology. We like to try. But does it create magic? No, not really. It's interesting. For our children, it's good. But for manufacturing, fantastic. Just not in our homes. So I'm just wanting you to understand where we're going. That, yes, lots of things are changing, but some are not. Some people were stupidly saying that there would be no more books in the world by 2010. As an author, I knew this was crazy. I continued to write. They said, Patrick, I don't know why you're writing. We will all be using Kindles. Kindle sales are falling. Kindle sales of books are falling. Audiobooks are going up because people like to run and they like to listen. Just like radio in the car is still very strong. But books, children's books in my country, sales of these kinds of things are up 17% in the last year. Business books up. Why? I'll tell you why. So here's one of my books. I confess to you I was using old technology here because it's a big print run. This is traditional litho offset. And I was interested to hold it, and it was too hot to hold in July. It was quite exciting to see. I was even more excited when the publisher talked to me about digital. And he said, I want to do something better for you than this. Why don't we have fun with some digital books? And when he explained to me, listen, I'm not a printer. You are the printers. You know what this technology does. But when I heard it as an author for the first time in July, I was electrified. And immediately I wrote 2 digital books. Because he said, I can print whatever I want. I can print hardback, softback, small, big, fat, thin, whatever you want, off more or less the same machine, at about 1 book per minute, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. It's fun. I said, what? You mean I can write a children's book for my own grandchild and just print 1? He said, yes. And then I could print another one to give to a publisher so they can see what it's like. Yes. You mean I could personalize it so that every child who receives one of my books will have a different version of it with their own names in there? Yes. You mean the future of almost everything, my latest book, I could start promoting this to companies so that at a conference, the company could have their own version of my book with their own cover, an introduction from me in a print run of 200. Easy. Yes. I tell you, my mind was beginning to change. Forgive me, I'm supposed to be a futurist, but the future had overtaken my understanding of your world. If I was behind, no wonder that most companies in the world don't understand this yet. Most authors have no idea. Most marketing directors have hardly understood how we can connect digital with programmatic printing. Fascinating. So that is why I believe passionately with all my heart that we're going to see a boom. And there's another reason. You see, I'm a physician. There's something very important about print. I'm really struggling to communicate with you at the moment. Do you know why? I am only able to use 100 words per minute, or our wonderful translators. Please give them a round of applause. They're working so hard. Okay? Our wonderful translators will lose me. I have to speak at 100 words per minute, 120. But if I put a screen of text onto your mobile, you can read 500 words per minute. If I put a long email on your computer, you get to 1,000 words per minute. Not every word, but just quickly scanning. But if I give you a huge, big report, let's say a risk review for one of the largest banks in the world. It's this thick. It's a vital board paper. Do you know what? If I was to give it to them and they read it on the screen, they should be sacked. Why? Because they are wasting their time and they will make mistakes. If you're going to give them a big report, they need to print it, they need to mark it up with a pen and go into the board meeting. And I promise you, they will read that report, you know how fast? At least 4,000 words a minute. At least. You skip it, you go back, forth. I tell you, senior executives, that is why they're in their jobs, because they're good at reading big documents and finding the truth quickly. You go back, forward, mark it up, tear a page out. You go to a big report like that, I would need less than 10 minutes, and I guarantee you I will speak well on important points in a board meeting about it. You could never dare to do that with print. Nor can you provide the cover, the color, the intensity, the touch, the feel. We know I can put electric sensors onto your brain. I can watch you read. I can watch you read your mobile, your iPhone, your iPad, your computer. I can watch you read a black and white newspaper and a color magazine. And I can see areas of your brain light up. And you know what? When you are touching it and smelling it, and you are hearing the crispness of the page, when you are in the experience of that printed material, your whole areas of your brain are just flashing with fire. When I just show it to you on the screen, almost nothing is lighting up. What we're seeing is we call it haptic sensation. It's a total sensory experience. And that is why books do so well. There's something extraordinary, almost a spiritual thing about books. Just give you one example. Okay, books. So, but it applies to the bigger the print, the better the print. I'm saying the bigger the print, the better the technology, the better the print technology, the more precious it becomes, especially if it's personal. So, if I was to take one of my books and give it to you, what are you going to do with it? It's a problem. Books are a problem, actually. We throw away newspapers. A friend of mine writes newspaper articles every week. They're 1,000 words. One day he put them all into a book. You throw the newspapers away, but if I give you a copy of his book, it's a problem. A book, it's knowledge. There's something of the spirit of the writer in the book, especially if it's personalized with a signature or something special about it. So it's very important that we understand that trust is linked with print, that it triggers the brain, that it's the opposite of this clickbait, nonsense, social media world where we don't really know what to trust anymore. It's just different. And when you look at most people now are associating advertisements generally with fake news in whatever country. Distrust is growing generally in marketing and media. 62% distrust all advertising in my country, and it's getting worse. Marketing directors are the same. They distrust their agencies. They don't believe the advertising impact data they're getting. They think it's fraud. And I can tell you that quite a big percentage of pay-per-click and things like that is being triggered by robots, not even human beings, and is indeed absolutely fraud. So we have big problems with trust. The consumer doesn't know what to do. So they turn to their friends, and then they turn to complete strangers. And most people will trust a review like this by a complete stranger 10 times more than they will trust the leader of a company, the head of marketing, or your website, or your program, or your advertising, even if they know it's not right. The first ad was probably written by the hotel's nephew's brother's aunt or something. It's probably made up. It's quite difficult to get 5 stars. The second was definitely made up. Who made that one up? Competitor, of course. I mean, come on. I mean, how many times do you get rats and food poisoning and nearly die? I mean, honestly, this is too terrible for words. It's not real. But I promise you this. If Google shows you, number 1, that one, number 2, this one, and on the right, it has the pay-per-click official advertisement from your marketing director, which is the place you go first. I know, you go for the rats, right? Put up your hands if you go for the rats. You do, yeah, every time. It's an emotional thing. We know that the rat story isn't true, but we still have to check it out. So it's important. And if it's true that most people trust a perfect stranger more than they trust the online channel, then we have to look for other things to strengthen trust in the online channel, and print is a way to do it. Because we know, again, from surveys, this is a Marketing Sherpa survey in Europe, and I can show you those kinds of surveys in many nations. Look at these. These are really important statistics. People trust print. 82% trust newspaper and mags, generally. 80% trust the TV ads. 76% trust the direct mail, but only 25% trust the pop-up ads. 25%. They think they're mainly fake. Only 61% trust the search engine ads. This is a real thumbs down for the digital channel. It's a real thumbs up for print, for your world, my friends. So what happens when we put the two together? Well, when you put the two together, well, before we go there, let's look at something else about print. Print hangs around. 80% of the stuff that's sent to your mailbox at home is kept for over 2 weeks. That's quite a long time compared to half of a millisecond for a digital ad. Door drops last for 38 days. The thing's put through personally through the letterbox. Bills and statements people keep for 45 days. What a lost opportunity. That statement is a fantastic marketing platform. So often it just tells us things which they don't really need to know. I know that bills and statements are going down as we're going digital, but there's a lot of this still being done. It could be done better. But look at this. This is really, really important. If you remember nothing else, we get a 62% uplift to an email campaign when it's combined with a mail shot to the same person. And we find that 57% saying that physical mail makes them feel valued. Now, I'm not talking about junk mail. I'm talking about physical mail from friends, from a trusted company, from someone they love, from people they bought from recently, from their favorite companies. These things make them feel valued. It's part of the conversation. They're in the store every week, and you mail them with special offers. They love it. And people also love it when you can do something magical. So you go in to apply for a mortgage in the bank, and you know the deal. And before they go out, they say, "I will mail it to you." You say, "Well, thanks a bunch." Actually, much better is they don't mail it to you. They say, "Actually, I have it." Oh. And here is your personalized plan. Well, 10 years ago, the personalized plan, of course, was the cardboard cover and a whole load of black and white photocopies. Very nasty. Personalized plan, this is your world. This is what we've learned about you. And page after page after page, customized, beautifully illustrated, and clearly absolutely printed for them. Every single page contains information that's unique to them in a magazine. How cool is that? A magazine with one popping out the machine. Of course it's worth them doing. The bank, it's a £250,000 mortgage on the back of which they can sell insurance and a whole load of products. This is a new lifetime relationship with a 28-year-old doctor who's going to earn them an absolute fortune. Yes, of course, they have the opportunity to have a decent print machine, one of these things, or a smaller one, in their own bank, and to fulfill the document right there and then. And of course, then they've got the opportunity to bring closure. They don't have to wait for it to be dropped tomorrow. They can phone tomorrow. I said, "Why don't you come back tomorrow morning? Mark it up. Tell me what you don't like. I can take you through. This is the page I want." It just makes it really, really interesting. It's instant, local, perfect. And I think it's particularly important for older customers who may not even particularly like the email channel anyway. But what's really fascinating to me is this is in a way the Holy Grail. It's also sensitive. It's ethically raises all kinds of questions, especially with GDPR. It has to be done very, very carefully and properly. But when you do it, this is magic. And I'm talking about customers, ideally, that you know well, you have a relationship with, they bought from you before, you have permissions, you know what they are. So they're on your database. Let's say it's the bank and the mortgage product, and now they're selling some special feature on insurance on the car or something like that. And the bank knows that you've been on their website. They know you were shopping around for insurance, and you actually got to the point of buying it. There's stuff in the basket. And statistically, 63% of people will stop at that point. They're literally on the press, and I'll come back. They don't. Almost all of those are lost sales. But when you can detect that activity, there's no commitment, no decision, but you just sense their presence on the website. You've heard their heart. You've felt their passion for the product. You've watched their mouse linger around that. The AI can do it. You've just sensed. They've been on that fulfillment page for 5 minutes. They went away. They came back to it on it for 10 minutes. Came back to it 10 minutes. They've still not done it. They need help. There's something which is they're not quite there. So you pop the mail shot in. That happened at 2 in the afternoon. The following morning, you might think this is a bit unreasonable, but this is tomorrow, okay? We can certainly do it within 48 hours, but ideally the following morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, through the mail, or when they get home that night, plump. And it's just well done. By the way, don't freak them out and say, we were watching you. You were 4.3 minutes on the checkout box, and these are the web pages you visited on our sites, and how many seconds. Please be careful. There are ways of doing it, and I'm not the marketing expert, many of you are. This is the tool. You will know how to use it well, and you can test it. So you can say, actually, we know where the way to do this because we set up 10 versions of this, and we gave them 5 different options, and we know the right amount of data to disclose. And said, we thought you might be interested in this. Or, I don't know how you do it, but here's the point. Someone did do a test. This is a typical test. They did a test. They did a control. This is the wonderful thing about this technology. They did a control. They said, let's do it objectively. It costs nothing. We'll do it with 1,000 people of this, 1,000 with that, 1,000 the other, and we compare. And once we've got the one that works, we then do another controlled thing, and each time we do it, we prove that it works. And they proved that the response rate went up to 6% on their email campaigns when they were using print as well, that the average order value went up by 8%, and most importantly, the abandoned baskets went down from 63% to 49%. In other words, this is fantastic. They actually salvaged 14% of sales. 14% of all those inquiries, rather, they converted. I mean, it's a big uplift in sales, bigger than that. Amazing. And, of course, I mean, we could go on forever, but once your imagination starts to run riot on this, you just think, HelloFresh, I think represented in this room, or a client that's printing their stuff, or you've designed their campaign. Very clever company. They deliver the products fresh to your door every week, but even better than that, they design the menus for you. So in a bag comes all the spices that you need and all the vegetables that you need for that particular dish. Amazing. So with HelloFresh, there's no reason why they can't print the menus for the week, depending on whether someone's vegan. And I mean, there's so many variations of dietary intolerance these days. What about printing a cookery book where every cookery book is completely customized to your unique profile of tastes, interests, dietary fads, and all the other dietary fads of people in your own home? What a miracle that would be. I'm just saying, let's think creatively. And of course, it doesn't just end with there. And we can go onto the packaging itself, which Amazon are doing now, so that, you know, within hours of Germany winning a fantastic sporting medal, with the prints are running, the packaging is already changed, and every package delivered to the following day says, congratulations to our mega hero today. And this produces uplift in sales. It produces extra trust, loyalty, and so on. Even things like this, I think, are wasted opportunity. My pocket is full of little pieces like this, but actually we can do better. Using the technology here, we can give someone the equivalent of a business card instead of just a printed receipt. Something that looks wonderful, that they keep, that's got some personalized information on the back, an offer combined with the receipt or whatever. So, you know, wherever we look, we see the same, which is our world is changing. Not all of it. Some areas of print are staying remarkably constant despite what some predicted, like traditional print for books. But when we fuse the world which is changing with the parts that are only changing slowly, and we pull them together into next generation programmatic print, we're seeing extraordinary results, which is good for the environment, less waste, less cost, higher uplift, higher profit, much more convenient, and very exciting. So I wish you every success as you look for those little ways to make magic for your customers for the future. Thank you very much.